Welcome to No Movies in Hell. I'm Chris Geiger.
I'm LaQuah Scott. And today
And I'm Marcelina Robledo.
Welcome, Marcy.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So today we're doing our top 5 for 2025, which I have to caveat and say there are some 2025 movies that I haven't seen yet because they just aren't here in my area yet. So I want to reserve the right to adjust later if I see something that, in January, February that should be in this group, but unfortunately did not make it.
Award season.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm further out in the boonies than you are, Chris. So, yeah, haven't seen a lot of the good movies yet.
Fair enough. We'll count down from 5 to 1. Marcy, you're our guest. Why don't you go first? What is your number 5?
So my number 5 is Superman. James Gunn, I feel he's able to do a really good, palatable superhero. And this version of Superman was really nice. It's good to not have another origin story. We know all about Superman. So it was good to see him further on down the line being Superman. And a little shout out to Cincinnati, the Justice League. If you are from Cincinnati, then you do know that the Justice League from the cartoon is based off of Union Station or the Museum Center there in Cincinnati. And so it was really fun to see the actual Museum Center as the Justice League and then the inside. So it's just a little nostalgia there. Superman is my number 5.
And they did a good job. Like they used the inside of the building too. It wasn't just like the outside and then they filmed the scene from inside from somewhere else. Like that's actually what it looks like inside Union Terminal.
Mm-hmm. And the rotunda. Yep.
I thought Nicholas Hoult did a really good job too in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I don't know, I'm not familiar with Hawk Girl.
Okay.
Like as a character, I've never seen her before or heard of her, but I love her. And I want to know if in the comic book, she screams every time she flies, because in the movie, she screamed every time she flew.
I think that James Gunn did a really great job of taking all the characters from the comic book. So if you're interested in Hawk Girl, highly recommend that you read the comics. I think even, there was some, social media discourse around like how the character, like Mr. Terrific and how the characters looked. And it's like, well, you need to read the comics to understand. It's like that campy. And I think he brings that to life with a lot of what he does, like the Suicide Squad and now Superman. So I'm really excited that he's like reviving the DC.
What is your number 5, LaQuah?
For number 5. So spoiler alert, I don't have any, despite the fact that I saw a bunch of like comic book inspired movies this year, or I guess last year. The top 5 are a pseudo endemic to, I guess, the films that I do watch. But I want to say that number 5 for me was Weapons by Zach Krager. It was horror. There are bits of comedy in there, but I think we had to discuss this in a couple episodes back of 25-24 being like the year of the witch and like these things that are happening and kind of like these unexplained entities, and there being kind of like that one source behind all of these things that are happening and kind of this mystery solve. Really thought that, from the trailer that came out in the winter of last year all the way to seeing the film, was really impressed with a follow-up from Barbarian. So yeah, number 5 is Weapons. How about you, Chris?
They're not really in order necessarily, but these are like the top 5 in no specific order. It Was Just an Accident was really good and different. And I really felt like you were in with the character. It was almost like a documentary, the way it was shot. And so odd things happen in the pursuit of this guy. And the way it ends up is a little bit anticlimactic, but still very real feeling like, oh, that is actually how that could end up going. That It Was Just an Accident was great. That is my one foreign film for my top 5.
Okay, cool.
Marcy, what's your number 4?
So it's actually a tie, and it was kind of an accidental double feature that I did one day. It is a double feature with The Materialist and documentary Stiller and Mira, Nothing is Lost. And so the reason why I put them together, purely accidental double feature that I saw on a Saturday afternoon. The Bennett or the Stiller Mira documentary is about Ben Stiller's parents, who are famous actors and comedians. On paper, these two people should not have fit. She's Irish Catholic. He was Jewish. She was taller than he is. She's funnier than he is. I mean, it was just on paper, they should not have worked, but they did. I mean, they were just a phenomenal comic duo, and they were really prolific, not only in comedy, but then their own individual careers. So it's just a lovely documentary about their love story and how they, as a couple and family, were maneuvering through Hollywood. Later on that evening, I saw The Materialist, which is about, it's a Celine Song's second movie about dating and so on and so forth with Dakota Johnson. And as superficial as people are now, the contrast between the way people date and trying to find perfection versus finding the perfectly imperfect partner. And so the two of the films were just so beautifully, the juxtaposition between the two were just so perfect. So that's my number four is the two of those.
Awesome.
Nice. My number 4 is Eddington by Ari Aster. I'm a huge fan of Ari Aster, and I think that this being like kind of a modern Western, but also it's very just so forward in what's happening politically, what's happening socially, and for it to just come out at like kind of like the perfect time, it just really documents what is happening in small towns, what is happening like in the broader conversations. And I thought that this was bold come out with. This was like a spring slash early summer film. It was polarizing. I think either people like it or they don't. There's subtlety and also explicitness in it, from comedy of errors to some degree, all the way to kind of like the conspiracy theories, which I feel like is a strong theme in my top movies. But yes, I will have to say that Eddington was a really great film, and it's up there at my number 4.
I agree with you. Eddington is also my number 4.
Okay.
I think this year, when I look at like the movies that I really like, the ensemble cast,
Yes.
like it's such a strong cast in Eddington. You've got Joaquin Phoenix, you've got Pedro Pascal, like everyone is doing a very good job within their role. And it just comes through in terms of how you fall into believing that this could really happen.
And Pedro Pascal was like in everything this
It's a strong Pedro Pascal showing just in this grouping right here. Materialist,
Materialist,
Eddington. Yeah.
Eddington, Fantastic Four, Freaky Tales.
So I have another documentary, and this is John Candy, I Like Me, which is on Prime. I just happened to fall on this documentary. It was just such a sweet gem. Just remembering John Candy's work. Oh yeah, he was really funny, but he was just a really good actor.
Mm-hmm.
When you rewatch Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, just he was that annoying character, but underneath all that annoying, he was just had this big heart, but he was a broken man. And Only the Lonely is one of my favorite movies, and he's in it as a police officer and trying to win the heart of Ali Sheedy, who works for funeral home as the makeup artist. But yeah, this is just a really great documentary on just his life and just the way he lived it, but then was just very generous as a person and a performer. And so that's my number 3.
You're the second person who's recommended that to, so I do want to see it.
Yeah, it's good.
LaCroix, what about you? Number 3?
My number 3 is Begonia by Yorgos Lanthimos. I went into this film like not knowing anything. I know that it's a remake of a Korean film, and I absolutely loved it. It's just so many different layers of kind of like the whole conspiracy thing again, but then also like the reasoning behind why characters do the things that they do. And it had completely surprising end. I could not stop watching this, and I had seen it very, very late at night too. So I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna fall asleep. And I was like, no, I was actually like, okay, what is gonna happen? Like, this is absolutely wild. And I think Jesse Plemons does a phenomenal job in this movie. Yeah, it just really makes you think of like, okay, what are some truths to things that people feel? Like, you could feel things and they can't be true. And, just the unveil or the twist is pretty spectacular, and it's really great storytelling.
So I put Begonia on my honorable mentions
Okay.
list. It didn't make my top 5, but it was close. Sinners.
Okay.
We talked about Sinners before in our horror favorites, but all of that still stands. I think from a soundtrack perspective, it's definitely a very compelling soundtrack. And when I was picking my top 5, I tried to categorize them in different ways, and so that I'm going to put that in the soundtrack category. Marcy, what about your number 2?
My number 2 is another documentary, and this one is on Apple Plus. It is called Come See Me in the Good Light, and poet Andrea Gibson. She's somewhat obscure, but the documentary is about her having had cancer, was in remission, and then it came back again. So it's the time that she's dealing with the cancer at a second time. She wrote a book, You Better Be Lightning. So that there. Sorry, my background. But anyway, it's just a beautiful documentary about her story, but then also how I came to discover it was I fell asleep. Anderson Cooper I fell asleep watching YouTube, and Anderson Cooper apparently has a podcast talking about death. And I just happened to lose a really good friend of mine around that time. Tig Notaro was his guest at that time, and she was a really good friend, friends with Andrea. And so Tig produced this documentary. And so that's how I came to find it. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful story and documentary. So I highly recommend it.
Awesome.
Come See Me in the Good Light.
Do you feel like the book complements the movie? Like that they're overlapping things in the book versus like.
So the book is just a collection of her poetry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And when I received the book, because I ordered it on Amazon, I was just flipping through, and the very first poem was talking about handling your grief, and just think about your grief as being in hibernation. And so that small little poem, after I read it, just really has helped me go through that grieving process. That you are essentially hibernating, because when you come out of your hibernation, you're another person. So, and she's just basically saying, embrace it. So I have been. So I paid attention.
Awesome. LaQuan, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Sinners. I think we talked about this a couple episodes back. I think it was my number 2. It stayed at number 2. And I just keep on seeing like reoccurring themes about, especially, and this is like not 100% direct, but like if you've seen the TV show Pluribus on Apple TV Plus, it's kind of like that assimilation and the whole vampirism as assimilation, especially when we're talking about in the South when with what was happening with Sinners. I just feel like the film came out in April. The theme has been persistent throughout the year as we start to look at AI, as we start to look at like things that are kind of centralizing versus kind of the differentiation that people bring, that things that bring. And so I feel like that has been an ongoing theme for 2025, at least for me. And I think Sinners just kind of encapsulates a lot of that stuff. at a very different level. And I really appreciate that film. And yeah. How about you,
Awesome.
Chris?
So my number 2 is Frankenstein. And this is the category of like costumes and set. Like so good. I want to own everything Mia Goth wore. Like I love it so much. And it's the laboratory that he builds, and it's just amazing. So the story, I mean, there's nothing particularly shocking in the story. You know, there are no twists that you didn't expect, but I just thought it was really the best in terms of set and production for the year. Marcy, what is your number 1?
So it's my turn to say Sinners.
Okay.
So it was my favorite out of this year. I'm sure for the very similar reasons that you both have. It was just a really great story in a time where we're living through remakes, just having. And now, how many ways can you talk about vampire story? Mm-hmm. I love me a good vampire story, but this one is just totally elevated. And something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is people's mastery when they get to a certain level, whether it's their talent, their skill, career, whatever. Once they hit that level of mastery, what does that look like and how does that feel like? Well, I think we're witnessing Ryan Coogler's mastery, entering his mastery phase. So yeah, I hope to see a whole lot more from that talented young man. And we're lucky because he is young, so we have a long road ahead of us of seeing some really good stuff from him, I think.
Yes. More to come from him, I'm sure.
Yeah, very helpful. My number 1 would be One Battle After Another. Paul Thomas Anderson. I think again it goes to like just the all around strong cast. From the story, the adaptation of the book, which is not One Battle After Another, but having, you know, Tiana Taylor from, you know, 1001, which was 2 or 3 years ago. Chase Infinity. Like, you have such a strong cast of people, and they do what they do very well. Script very well, set design, cinematography was incredible in certain scenes, and it can be a tough watch, but there's a lot packed into such a very strong film. And I really hope to see more all around casts like that. I know it's expensive, but it's the storytelling is just great. So I really enjoyed the film. There are a lot of really incredible films this year, but like that one just came out of the gate and I thought it was great. How about you, Chris? Your number 1 film for 2025?
One Battle After Another. I kind of had a feeling we might agree on this one, LaQuab. Going into this episode, I was like, try not to pick that as your number 1 because I'm pretty sure LaQuab is going to, but it is. Like, the ensemble cast was so great. Like, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, like, amazing. Even the high school kids who were like being interviewed by, like, when they're trying to tell them that she doesn't have a cell phone, like, everyone did such a great job. The only thing that I will say that I thought was a little bit lacking, and I get that you can't flesh out every character fully, you'd be there for 4 hours, but the guys in the Christmas Club were so one-dimensional, evil, like almost fairy tale-ish, like flat villains. It just kind of took me out. Like, no one really talks like that. Or, you know, when they're downstairs meeting in that like underground room that's been decked out for that, like that just kind of took me out. I would say the same thing about Squid Games. When they have the VIP scenes, like those characters are very one-dimensional. No one talks like that. They're just evil. But that's the only complaint I have about that movie, is that the writing kind of, I don't know, failed me at that point.
But I think that was the point. It was like, they're evil. They don't really have a backstory. It's just that they're white men who want to preserve whiteness, and so therefore it's like they gave him the challenge of, hey, if you want to be in this club, like you need to effectively like change something that you've done. And that's it. Like I I don't think that, yeah, I wonder if would be like a director's cut where there is a backstory, but it's like, I mean, sometimes that's pretty much it.
All right. Do you guys have any honorable mentions? Marcy, do you have any extras that you want to throw out?
Mhm. I have two. The first one is weapons.
Okay.
And I'm not a big horror person, but I just had to see it just based on just some other commenters. Like, all right, I'm going to watch it during the day with all the, the lights and the curtains open. And I did it. I persevered. I'm glad I did. So that's first honorable mention. And the second is another documentary called The Only Girl in the Orchestra. And it's on Netflix. And it's the story of Orwin O'Brien. She was the first double bassist and the first female, the New York Philharmonic. And she was in that position for 55 years. As long as I have been on the planet, she was in that position. So that was quite interesting. And what I really liked about it was, because right now I am so fascinated about people's mastery. Her story is what happens after you're no longer a master. And it's not necessarily a decline of her mastery, but just it's time for her to move on so that the new generations can come in. And so it was just a very bittersweet, but really well done documentary. And it's only about 30 minutes. So I highly recommend it.
Watch that one, actually. It's is it her niece who made the movie? Yeah.
Yep. And when she's giving away her double bass to her student, when you think about the lineage of these instruments, and when you're at that level, you're not going to have an instrument that you get off of Amazon. I mean, these instruments have souls to them, hundreds of years old. And so yeah, it was just really interesting to see how that point when you're no longer a master and it's time for you to move on, what that looks like and what it feels like, because we're such a youth obsessed society. We don't hear about those stories. We're not really aware of those stories and how to be an elder, how to be a mentor.
LaCroix.
Oh,
Do you have any honorable mentions?
Yes. So I will have to say Opus was one. It has Ayo Edebiri and John Malkovich. I had to give this a lot of thought. It came out in the spring, and I've been thinking about it kind of parallel to a lot of the other films that have been going on. So it is a thriller. It is kind of like a horror comedy about kind of getting back to, I mean, minor spoiler, but artistry and craft. And what does that mean? For example, like if you need a cobbler or you need like an artist, a painter. And what does it mean in being kind of in pop culture or in art? So kind of taking that step back and kind of plugging it into physicals and like dying quote unquote art versus kind of the virality of, the internet and stuff like that. And it's done in such a very different horror type of way. And it kind of slow burned and sat with me for a little bit. And also Bring Her Back was my other honorable mention. Again, another horror film that kind of stuck with me over some time. And yeah, I think those were my two. What about you, Chris?
I had Begonia on my honorable mention list, and also Sentimental Value, which is a very kind of quiet slice of life movie, but it's from Joaquin Trier, who did The Worst Person in the World, which I also really liked. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.